Hi, my name is Hayden, and my case study presentation is about USA vs. Jarrett Hobbs and how we can use this case to better understand ethical issues of correctional officers. This case is about how multiple correctional officers abused their power to hurt a man in custody. Jarrett Hobbs was being held for speeding, an expired license, and for having illegal drugs in his car. In his holding cell, 4 white correctional officers and 1 African American officer are seen going into Hobbs' cell and choking him and beating Hobbs up. Hobbs' attorney said he had a chipped tooth, swollen face, and one of his dreadlocks was pulled out. There is a security camera footage of the attack. 3 correctional officers have been arrested and more could be arrested too. The 3 officers are 23-year-old Mason Jarrett, 21-year-old Braxton Macy, and 24-year-old Ryan Beagle. These officers are being charged with battery and violation of oath. The job of being a correctional officer has become very stressful. Officers have started to lose their morals and become corrupted. Ethical issues correctional officers are facing include officers abusing their power. They are trying to get away with a lot more than they have in the past. Officers have started to create personal relationships with the inmates. That could be romantic relationship or a new best friend type of relationship. This is an issue because building those relationships can cause officers favoriting inmates and letting them get away with things. Officers are accepting bribes from inmates, causing corruption, and officers are harassing inmates a lot more. These ethical issues connect to this case because we are able to witness correctional officers abusing their power and breaking the oath they committed to, all to beat up a man who is in a holding cell. We are seeing correctional officers go against all their ethical duties, leaving people scared and worried about who is supposed to protect them. When looking at ethics for correctional officers, you start to see how they were trained and taught to be respectful and they vowed to the oath. But officers are breaking that oath and going against the correct ethical choices because of anger and stress. You have to look at the characteristics of the officer and what their morals are. The characteristics of a good officer are being loyal, respectful, honest, and smart. Not people who would team up against someone being held. Finding a new way to figure out the correct way to see all the officers' true characteristics is a must. Correctional officers are expected to exceed the ethics code, meaning what they are told not to do, they won't do it. They give their word and they can't break it. By changing the ethics code, officers' ethics will also change. The officers chose to go against the code of ethics and created a new standard. The code of ethics and ethical issues are related because we see issues when they break the code. In this case, we see the correctional officers abusing their power and their authority to cause harm on someone else. The code of ethics is saying to have respect of your power and use it when needed. They used their power for an unnecessary thing, showing that they broke the code of ethics. Ethical issues are things and acts that result in moral conflict. They are what society believes is wrong. In this case, we see these officers abusing their power. They are using their badges to get into Mr. Hobbs' holding cell, and they violently punch and strangle him, then drag him out of his cell. In society's eyes, that is a truly terrible thing. With this attack, we see the officers break their oath. They vowed to serve and protect, yet we see them hurting someone. Mr. Hobbs was a non-violent man in custody. This attack is random for the officers. The attack is random in the way that it wasn't a in-the-moment attack. These officers ganged up on Mr. Hobbs. The random part is, why now? Why did they do it? They are the ones who could get in trouble, so why did they do it? The ganging up shows the ethical choice to do this attack was going to happen. These boys made moral decisions and did it knowing they were breaking the law. The challenge is for understanding the ethical issues of correctional officers is the not knowing how to solve the issues from happening in the future. When you become a correctional officer, you are taught the ethics you need to follow, and you commit to an oath saying you will protect and serve. But with this case, you can see how nobody expected these officers to commit the attack they did. So how do you prevent it? How do you stop it from happening when you weren't expecting it to happen? The challenges are having to rethink the training or learning how this could have been prevented. Thinking of new safety ways for inmates. Hiring different officers. All you can do is try to prevent it from happening again. Thank you for listening and watching my case study presentation. I have listed my references down below if you would like to learn more about the USA v. Hobbs case or about ethical issues of correctional officers.